Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Harmonics. Today's guest got a lot of musical history all throughout the United States. I'd like to welcome Kelly Sanders. What's up, brother?
Thank you.
It's so good to see you, man. How is it? How are you?
I'm doing good.
You look great. You look
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Let's just get right into your history. Tell me where it all started.
It started right here in Hayward, California. I was a freshman, 1974, at Sunset High School, and it was a rainy day. Actually, there was two bands that were supposed to be playing in our
quad.
Yeah. for lunchtime, and I had drama and stagecraft were two of my classes, and stagecraft was O period, before school, you know, and we had just finished with stagecraft, and the guys showed up in their vans to unload to play in the quad, and it starts pouring down rain. So they go, okay, well, this is canceled, so we're gonna leave. And I, wait, no, wait a minute, we've got the stage is all clear, and I just set up the lights. You know, let me ask the drama teacher if you can play here. Oh. So, okay, we'll wait. And so I went and asked the drama teacher. He says, if it's okay with the dean, went to the dean, or principal, I went to the principal, vice principal, dean of boys, dean of girls, went through the whole circuit and got all okay. So we set up both bands. And at Sunset we had, I think, 45 minutes for lunch, or 55 minutes, something like that. Mm-hmm. But we figured out, you know, each band got 20 minutes or whatever to play. Mm-hmm. And so we, Jay Gomez's band, Snap, played on one side of the stage, and then Ron Corey's band, the Ron Corey Band, played on the other side. And so when it was all over, I, you know, I'd helped them set up and did a light show for them and everything. So I volunteered to be a roadie for both of the bands.
Excellent.
And every time that they played with another band, I volunteered to roadie for them.
Oh, so you're doing it like almost like a little stepping ladder.
I always said, I'm a roadie. I don't charge anything. Here's my number. You know, call me when you're having a gig.
What a great thing to do at that particular time. So you got bit by the music bug.
Oh, yeah.
So you got a T-shirt on, right?
Yeah.
That's some of your very good friends.
Y&T.
Yes, and you actually roadie for them, established in '74. How did you meet them?
Well, in 1974, they were doing the auditions for the Battle of the Bands at Sunset High. So, you know, I saw the auditions, and I actually went to the Battle of the Bands in 1974 here at Chabot College, and yesterday and today won the Battle of the Bands. And then the next year, yesterday and today came back as the guest band. And that was the first time that I saw them that I went, wow. I mean, because when they won the Battle of the Bands, they were just another cover band. Mm-hmm. But when they came back as the headliner, you know, this special guest band, whatever, the last year's winner, they were incredible. Right, and right from then, they just started doing Bill Graham shows.
Let's start it off right with a warm welcome for Yesterday and Today.
it wasn't but a few months later, they were playing with Queen.
Right.
And well, actually, they played with Queen in Winterland right after Battle of the Bands, you know, within a few months. They opened for Queen at Winterland. Then the following year, they opened for Queen again. Queen actually asked for them. And they opened for them in Berkeley, where they got signed with London Records. And I was there
You were right
both
there?
nights. It was funny. I just did an interview for Y&T's doing a documentary, because they've been in the music business for 42 years, and same as me. You know, we were both established in '74. So I was doing an interview for their documentary, and we did 6 hours the first night.
Unbelievable.
And we just had kind of barely scratched the surface. So I had to stay the night and stay another night and do another, and we did another 5 hours the next night. And then they're going to try and fit into a 2-hour movie.
So they'll cut that down.
Oh,
obviously,
yeah.
But what amazing story. So, you know, when you were talking, so that would probably be is that your band that you actually, I know you roadie for others, but is that your main band? Would you say that was your main band?
Because basically after I went on tour with Y&T, we did the Earthshaker album, and then we did the Earthshaker tour in '82. We recorded it in '81 and did the tour in '82, and after I got back from being on tour, my roommate went to an audition to sing with a band called Sabotage in San Francisco. And he came back from the audition and he says, I said, "Oh, how'd you do?" And he says, "Well, they didn't like me. He said I sang too pretty, and they're looking for more of a whiskey rock and roller kind of rough guy, you know." And I said, "Oh, that's too bad." And he goes, "Oh, that's cool, because you have an audition tomorrow night." And I went, "What?"
That's
He goes,
cool.
"I told him, man, my roommate's just perfect for you guys." So the next night I went and auditioned with Sabotage and immediately got the gig. It was really cool, and we did a lot of really awesome shows. We did the Old Waldorf, and we did all the Keystones, and we got really hot, and then we did the Keystone Palo Alto. We got 3 encores.
Amazing. That's great. It's
3
great to-
encores. There was 4 bands for $4 on a Tuesday night. And I think it was some kind of special week at Stanford or something, because it was just packed. And when they announced our name, it was just like they had announced Kiss or something, man. I mean, the place just went, "Rah!" It was like, whoa. And
Great feelings.
oh man,
Great
and
feeling.
and,
Great
that
feeling.
right there, I mean, that bit me so hard, and I mean, it was scary at first, because that was the biggest response I'd ever
In your
had.
life.
It was like, we haven't even done a song yet, you know. But after every song, it kept getting louder and more. And then when we finished, it was like, we got near the end of the set, and I said, "Hey, you know, we got to stop, because they're going to want more." And we did, but we didn't count on being called back 3 times. And we had to jam songs, you know.
Right, I can understand. So you were in Sabotage for a while. When did actually Jolly Roger come into your life? Where did that, and how did that? I loved your concept and all of that. How did that all came about? What was the concept? What made you guys move into that?
Well,
Same guitar player, by the way, or is it? Different?
no, it's a totally different guitar player. But I was managing a band. I ended up being in the Air Force through
a Hall
my
of Fame.
travels. After I quit Sabotage, I moved to the Central Coast. I was living in Santa Maria, and I got into a band with a very famous guitar builder named Gene Baker. Awesome guitar player, but he made all of Ronnie Montrose' guitars, Baker Guitars. Now he's making B3 guitars, his 3rd company. Wow. But he's an incredible guy. But so I went and I was in a band with him for a year. Then I moved to Las Vegas, and I was singing in a band in Las Vegas
Tell me
for
who
a
you
year.
met. Tell me who you met.
and I met my beautiful wife, Beverly. Beverly Hills from London, England, in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I
You
love
know.
her name, man. You know.
So I ended up moving back to California, and we had a child, and she's from England, so she wanted to go back home. So we sold everything we had, and we moved to England, and had a band in England for a year. And then we ran out of money, and I couldn't work. I wasn't an English citizen,
Right.
so I couldn't work. So we ran out of money, and I ended up having to join the Air Force. And I mean, when I joined the Air Force, my hair was, you know, down to here, singing in a heavy metal band.
That's great.
And so, you know, I joined the Air Force, and I came back to the States.
Right.
And while I was in the Air Force, I was working with the Informant magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Hernandez
Of
had
course, yeah, he's a
the
great friend.
Informant magazine here in the Bay Area, and in the 80s. And so I expanded his magazine into the Central Coast. And while I was in the Air Force at Vandenberg.
Man, you were all over. You know, you're all over.
Man.
Let me ask you. So you were doing the Informant,
Yeah.
and were you still playing with Jolly Roger?
No, Jolly Roger came, that came years later. I was actually wearing in Oroville, I was wearing one of my old Y&T tour jackets. And I walk into a burger joint, and this guy goes, "Oh, great band." And I started talking to him, and he goes, "Yeah, I play guitar." I go, "Well, I sing." And I go, "You playing with anybody?" He goes, "Nah." He goes, "But I got everything." I go, "What do you mean you have everything?" He goes, "I got everything," you know, and he did. He had, you know, PA lights, stage. He had a barn. He had a barn it was like a nightclub in a barn, man. It was killer. So yeah, we put Jolly Roger together, but I had originally came up with the name and the logo and all the artwork. When I got out of the military, Jay Gomez, the original guitar player I'd worked for,
Right.
he had a band called Most Wanted. Okay, well, Most Wanted split up, and the guy who's came up with Most Wanted is the one that left the band. So they couldn't be Most Wanted anymore.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so they
You
were
wanna hurt
looking.
your friends.
They were looking for a new name.
Right.
So with the new name, I came up with this with Jolly Roger. I go, "Hey, you know, everybody's wearing all the pirate stuff. You see skull and crossbones everywhere. So let's try Jolly Roger." So okay, we went Jolly Roger. So the band was Jolly Roger, and I still work with the Informant magazine. So we started throwing in ads about Jolly Roger. You know, every month there was another bigger and better ad for Jolly Roger.
I love it.
And the band never did gig. Jolly Roger, the original Jolly Roger never played a show.
You were just
So I had all this artwork and this name, and I threw it in my drawer. Well, 10 years later, I meet this guy, and we started jamming together, and so I went through my old artwork, and I go, "Oh, wow." And I showed it to the band. I go, "What do you think about this?" They go, "Oh, that looks great." And it's okay, well. So we adopted that, and with Jolly Roger, we did all my original songs. So some of them were some Sabotage songs, and other ones that we wrote together. And we, since we're doing all original songs, it was really hard to keep drummers involved. Drummers want to make money. Drummers can play any kind of music. They don't care.
Right.
They can play a beat to anything.
Right.
And as long as they're getting $50, $100 a night,
Right.
they will
Right.
play anything.
Right.
But so we would get drummers for 6 months to a year, and they would love what we're doing, and then they would say, "When are we going to make money?" And we did a lot of benefits, you know. I mean, we did, you know, the Jules Pagari, we did the benefit for him, Friends Helping Friends. And then once he passed, we did the other benefit, the Murph Stock
Right.
out there in
Right. I remember that we played that show. That was, you know what? I wanted to thank you for doing that because Jules was my guitarist at that time when he passed. Great guitar player. But I want to, you know what? I've always wanted to thank you. Thank you for doing that. And because then after that, then we came out, and then Mark Ross was playing with me. Actually asked
Really?
Jules if he would do it. You can catch it on YouTube. I think it's somewhere on YouTube.
Mark Ross taught me how to tune guitars,
Mark
how to
Ross is
string
great.
guitars.
Let's talk about
how to
Mark
tune.
Ross.
Oh
Tell me
my
about
God,
Mark.
oh man, yeah. I mean,
Great guy.
he's my brother, man. I mean, you know, he was the guitar player from Mile High, and like I say, I every band in Hayward, every band in the East Bay, pretty much, I roadied for in the '70s.
Let's talk about, but that's,
We
keep
toured.
that.
We toured with Mile High.
Right. And let's talk about the other guitar player who now plays with
Right,
Hawaiian
John
John.
Nyman. Yeah,
You and Johnny go back too.
yeah. I mean, we were touring with Mile High back in the, you know, mid '70s,
70s.
and actually, I was on tour with them. Well, twice. We went all the way to Colorado, and you know, and just we're all over the place.
band.
And we ended our tour in '78 at a nightclub in the Mile High City in Denver. And the opening band had Jay Gomez and Ron Corey. Wow. In the same band were the opening band.
Isn't that wild?
The two first guitar players I ever worked with. And now I'm
Playing
1,000 miles from home and on tour with another band. But so our tour was over. On New Year's Eve, we were done. So everybody was going home, but Jay Gomez's band was going on tour through a booking agency in Denver called American Music Enterprises back then, AME. And they booked bands in like a 6-8 state circuit.
Right.
And you know, when you got on the circuit, you were on the circuit for 3 months to 6 months, you know, and you know, basically it was in a 3-month cycle. So when you left, you knew you weren't coming back for 3 months. So they were to be going on tour in a week. So I flew home with Mark Ross, and we took all the money that we'd earned getting there to fly home that night. And once we got home, I packed up and flew back. And the night I flew back, Jay Gomez's band had a fire and their equipment burned to the ground. So there I was stuck in Denver with no job, no gig. I ended up working with a band that called the Wombleys that had Randy Castillo from Ozzy Osbourne. Also, their keyboard player played with Ozzy Osbourne at the same time, but
Not
you know, I mean, he wasn't as flamboyant and famous as Randy Castillo, but amazing band. But yeah, you know, and
do you miss that at all? Those days are gone. You said you're going to write a book.
Yeah, I'm writing
Do you have
a book.
a title to that at all? Or
Yeah, well, it was funny because in the very early days of roadieing for Jay Gomez's band Snap, we were doing a party right underneath the BART tracks, right there behind Sunset High School, right underneath the BART tracks, and there was a big house party, and
house parties were great.
Oh, and speaking of this party, the Del Rio, that's the coach of Jack Del Rio.
Yeah,
okay,
Jack.
his uncles got into a fight that night with the other band, the Miranda Brothers, and there was a big brawl.
I heard that name,
the Miranda Brothers
yeah.
and the Del Rio Brothers. Oh my God!
There's a lot of history right there. There's a lot of history right there.
So before the fight started,
The bands were good.
we had already played. We were the first band, and we got up finished and we put all the equipment away. And my rule as a roadie was no partying, no drinking, no smoking, no funny business until after the show was over.
And everything packed.
Okay, and everything's packed. Okay, rule of the roadie.
It's excellent.
And so we had packed up all the equipment. It was in the van, and I went back in the party, and I was catching up, you know. So I'm standing there at the party, and I'm just, you know, having a good time. And
Right.
the bass player walks up. He goes, "Kelly, are you okay?" I said, "Yeah." "Why?" And he says, "Dude, you look like you're gonna OD." So then he turns to Jay Gomez and says, "Jay, come here." He says, "Look, it's OD the roadie." So I from that moment on, I was Odie, you know, everywhere, you know, that's Odie the roadie, you know.
So you did a lot of roadieing, and you did a lot of playing yourself. I'm going to throw some names at. Give me like a 30-second shot on them, maybe a little longer. Dave Meniketti.
Great guitar player. I just saw him on New Year's Eve, and
They exploded.
oh my God, he's played 2.5 hours, flawless. I told him the only thing he doesn't do anymore, kick. Yeah, and I called it the Ray Guy kick, and he laughed. Because I mean, he used to kick his foot.
Oh,
I mean,
right up,
straight
right, up.
You know.
Montrose, Ronnie.
Ronnie Montrose, wonderful guy. I got to roadie for him on his last tour, and I got to roadie for the benefit that we did in San Francisco, and the benefit we did for him in L.A. just recently. Had guys from Aerosmith and Ted Nugent and Whitesnake and a couple of guys from Y&T and oh my God, it was
Phenomenal.
It was phenomenal.
Leonard Hayes. You talk about drummers, one of the great drummers in our time, Leonard Hayes.
Oh yeah, we were roommates. We were tour
You
mates.
call them the wrecking crew.
I introduced him to his wife. His first wife was my roommate, and I took her to a Y&T show, and she wanted to party with Leonard. But
You were talking about Jay Gomez. Let's go
Jay
back.
Gomez, great guitar player. Played with multiple bands here in the Bay Area. And he was in a band with Troy Luccketta. Troy Lucketta's first band when he was, I think, 15 was Whisper.
Right.
And they won the Battle of the Bands here at Chabot College.
You just made me think of another name Eric Martin.
Eric Martin.
Sweetheart.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Well, the band Mile High turned into the band 415. But before, they were actually Area Code 415.
Right, exactly.
But then there was a band that was Area Code 4, or something, some rap something that was Area Code 415. So then they were just 415. Then they became the Eric Martin Band. And we did the Down the Green as 415.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
with,
right.
with Heart. Yeah.
So, you know what? You're lengthy. What I mean by that, you have so many stories. I'm glad that you don't have a title for your book yet.
Oh, it's Odie the Roadie.
Odie the Roadie. So be watching for that when it does come published, probably in 2016 or 2017.
Yeah. A guy I went to high school with, author, and he's doing my book for me, and
He's editing it.
oh yeah. I just have to tell the stories, and he's gonna
Edit it.
edit it all in, you know.
So tell me also, you did a Y&T documentary just recently.
Yeah.
And that should be coming out, or do they have a target?
That's coming
date?
out this year. Yeah, that's definitely going to come out in 2016. Somebody else you just did a while back, Diane Buckaloo, Diane Derringer.
Yeah, Miss Derringer.
I worked with Rocks. I worked with Rocks the
They're a
year
great
they
band.
won. I
Great
worked with
band.
the Street Punks, and they won. And I worked with all those bands
Great
that
band.
won the Battle of the Bands.
You got a long history, my friend. I'd like to thank you for coming. I'm going to have to invite you back after you get your book out.
Yeah.
I want to thank your wife, Beverly, for being here. Just listening to this guy, there's so much musical history that he has. He's a great figure, a great father figure, just does a lot of great things for a lot of people. What I liked, before we got on the air, he was talking about doing benefits, and that's really where the heart is. Music's not always about money, but if you can make it while you can, because it doesn't last a long time. I'd like to thank you so much, Kelly.
Awesome.
Pleasure to have you on. And Kelly, what we normally do, I give a thank you to all our fans, but we like to throw out a kiss and peace and love to all of you.
Peace.